What's bustin', gamers? Hope you're having a fabulous new year, and welcome to another installment of Random News of Gaming, the monthly gaming news roundup series that covers all the things you probably heard about already, then a number of interesting releases that you may not have heard about. Unfortunately, there's not very many this time, but that's kinda expected this time of year. What's not expected is that gaming news is an utter dumpster fire, even outside the Game Awards, so let's get right into this shit. December was pretty much the month of the leaks, with the biggest one being Sony's very own Insomniac games. Yeah, Sony's involved in yet another security breach, alright.
I am shocked! Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
This one might be one of the biggest and most disruptive leaks in video game history too, as it outlined pretty much everything Insomniac had down the pipeline. Unannounced games, financial data, other plans, and not only that, tons of personal information about current and former employees. We learned that Sony really wants to push the bar higher for the prices of video games, going as high as $100 or more. There's even a playable build of the upcoming Wolverine game out there on the internet now as a result of this hack too. You will have to find that yourself. I'm not going to be showing any of this stuff in this video, of course, because I'm a good little child that totally would never pirate anything anyway. Really sucks to be them right now, obviously, and a lot of people in the industry have shown a lot of support for them over the month. But they also got support from an unexpected source, at least unexpected for us the consumers at least, and that's a handful of people in game journalism and media. Some of them refused to cover the leaks on some made-up principle that somehow magically appeared as soon as it was Insomniac that was the victim. The biggest example of this hypocrisy being Greg Miller of Kinda Funny, who literally the day before this happened was talking about the Suicide Squad leaks, which we'll get into in a bit, and pretty much every other leak that happened before that. Others include Brian Shea of Game Informer and Timur Hussain of GameSpot, clearly showing a double standard when it comes to Sony and Insomniac for some reason. Something ethics and gaming journalism or something? I don't know. These people have no ethics, so fuck 'em. Speaking of fuck 'em, the Suicide Squad game details were leaked, and I don't care. Do you? You shouldn't. I don't even want to talk about this one. The only thing of note that people have their jimmies rustled over is that, spoiler alert I guess, they reincarnated Poison Ivy as a child. And a lot of people out there are jumping to some wild conclusions with that. Just stop. Anyway, the other major leak of the month was Grand Theft Auto 6. Rockstar announced they would air the first trailer on December 5th, but then someone leaked it a day early, so in response, Rockstar just dropped it on the 4th instead, which was the right move because it quickly made the leak irrelevant news, and this trailer ended up becoming the second highest viewed video on YouTube during its first week, behind some K-pop music video. Not surprising that it popped off like this because they've been blueballing us for a new GTA game for over a decade now, and we still have to wait until 2025 to play it, unless you're on PC only, in which case probably 2026 at the earliest. Damn console peasant series. But like usual with this series, it seems to bring out the worst in people whenever it becomes relevant again. At least, from people who don't even play it. No, seriously. The amount of bitching, Karening, concern trolling, frivolous lawsuits, and general ass hurt about video games in general always comes to a head whenever this series is in the spotlight again. Like that crazy Florida man trying to sue Rockstar for using his likeness. What a dumbass. Or Elon Musk himself decrying the violence against police in the game while seemingly having no issues with violence in any of the other games he's known to have played. Or all the retards that want GTA 6 to be banned and asking Rockstar to do it. Yeah, good one. Let's ask Rockstar to ban their own terrible, horrible, no good, very bad game. They'll totally do it, guys. As for the trailer itself, it also has a lot of people arguing about stupid shit, usually revolving around the culture war. But anyone who's familiar with the series would know that there's really nothing all that unusual or groundbreaking about anything they showed. Like yeah, we get to visit Vice City again, which is cool. And then there was basically a sizzle reel of all the Florida stereotypes that the game will undoubtedly make fun of throughout, which is to be expected. It also introduced us to one of the main characters, Lucia, who isn't out of the ordinary for this series if you really think about it. It's not that special to have a female protagonist anymore, so stop bitching about it. And stop praising it. My concern is that the good parts of this game will be overshadowed by live service microtransaction hell and all that AAA bullshit, because you know they will not pass up the fuck ton of money they made with GTA Online for this one too. Lowest expectations and all that, which sucks, because I fucking love GTA 5. Oh yeah, we're still not done with the leaks by the way. The full source code for Grand Theft Auto 5 finally hit the internet late last month. as well as some info on some unannounced titles such as a sequel to Bully, a potential GTA Tokyo spin-off, and several cancelled expansions for GTA 5. Of course, we can expect an uptick in some crazy fun mods for the game now that it's public, but also, if you're a GTA Online player, expect an uptick in cheaters and hackers for a while. Nobody can catch a break right now, it seems, because there's still one more security breach to talk about: Ubisoft. Fortunately for this one, they managed to prevent it from succeeding, but still, lots of shady activity going on in and around this industry lately. Speaking of shady activity, time to talk about the totally important and totally legit awards show that everyone gets salty over every year: the Game Awards. The awards aren't really worth talking about. You already know what happened probably, so I'll just mention some highlights, like Christopher Judge roasting Call of Duty on stage.
My speech was actually longer than this year's Call of Duty campaign. What?
You love to see it. The rest of the highlights were all game announcements. I thought that African-style 2D game was really cool looking, and the guy named dropped Golden Sun on stage as one of his inspirations, which made me very salty. Fucking Nintendo and their shitty Mario sports games. Anyway, there was also a new Mana game, a new Dragon Ball Z Budokai-style fighting game, a new fantasy-style game by the No Man's Sky team, which has some serious potential, and quite possibly the best announcement that really stole the show for me: Sega announcing new games in many of their dormant series, including Jet Set Radio, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Crazy Taxi, Shinobi, and more, they say. Take notes, pretty much every other company. There's also rumors they have even more revivals in the works, such as Alex Kidd, Altered Beast, Kid Chameleon, and more, due to some people noticing they filed for trademarks for these series right before the Game Awards. Very interesting timing on that, so maybe we'll see something in the future. That about sums up the best parts of the Game Awards. Sadly, no Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton cameo this time. He did show up to the event, but got kicked out for some reason though. Lol. Speaking of kicked out, man, these transitions really suck. Anyway, E3 is officially dead for good. Rip Bozo, won't be missed, should have died years ago. Well, technically the Summer Games Fest is like the new E3, I guess. Can that die too? And take the Game Awards with you while you're at it. And before you whine at me, think about it. These shows are utterly pointless to us as consumers. Everything is communicated with the internet now, so these shows are just superfluous circle jerks for industry insiders. The less of those they get, the better. Arguably one of the worst games of the year came out last month, the day before. For some reason, people were actually looking forward to this thing, despite the fact that this thing had a sussy smell to it for quite a long time. So if you fell for it, you kinda get what you deserve, to be honest. It's supposed to be a multiplayer zombie shooter, but what it really ended up being was an utter failure, as it announced its shutdown days after launch, and also announced that the entire team behind it will be shutting down as well. I don't know if this is the shortest lived multiplayer game ever made, but it's gotta be up there. Fortunately, everyone that bought it will be refunded, I guess. At this point, I really don't have any sympathy for people who pre-order games like this, so maybe they would have deserved to lose their money. Maybe. Speaking of deserving to lose money, you should never pay for mods, ever. But Bethesda still, after all these years and all the backlash, still insists on making paid mods a thing. They keep trying to come up with all these schemes to avoid the accurate descriptor of paid mods, but people are not having it. At least, that's what I thought. There seems to be a lot more tolerance for it now, unfortunately, and a lot of people are defending it for some reason. On the other hand, one thing that isn't getting much defense is Starfield, which dropped into the mostly negative range for recent reviews, making it one of Bethesda's lowest reviewed games. The biggest complaint seems to be pretty simple, and pretty crucial to video games. Starfield is boring. I guess it took a while for the space dust to settle, as a lot of these reviews are coming from people who spent quite a long time with it. Some people have suggested that it's also part of a growing sentiment against Bethesda, partially influenced by their decision to reintroduce paid mods, but I doubt it. The game is just mid, and it was overhyped. I still haven't had a chance to try it, and I still want to see for myself eventually, but it's just a shame. And this, plus the paid mods bullshit coming back to life, makes any anticipation for Elder Scrolls 6 even more shaky than before. Honestly, I'm at the point where I'm saying that it's going to suck when it finally comes out. We'll see. Over on the PlayStation side, we have another case of you get what you deserve, although temporarily. Sony pulled digital video content from Discovery off their platform. even from those who already paid for it, which made people suddenly freak out about the future of buying digital media. I have to say, to anyone who buys digital content, this is your future. It's inevitable. You don't own anything, and it's likely in their terms of service that they can revoke your access to it whenever they deem necessary. This happened to TV and movie content or whatever Discovery does now, and it will happen to your games too. You're just pissing money down the drain. And if it took you this fucking long to figure this out, you deserve to lose your content. My advice is simple. Never, and I mean never, buy digital content on any gaming console. We're a bit too far gone at this point to hope for better consumer rights, but you can still prevent yourself from having to deal with any situations like this in the future. But most people aren't going to learn, and they'll think they can just solve the problem by complaining over and over because not long afterwards, Sony announced they re-signed the deal with Discovery, so none of the content will be removed after all. What a wonderful digital future we truly have. Oh yeah, The Last of Us multiplayer got cancelled.
What did you expect?
Instead, all you get is that cash grab remaster with the tacked on roguelite mode. Honestly, you should have seen this coming. It's been 3 years since the game came out, so obviously this thing was never going to exist. Over in China, we have some good news for a change. Well, good for us, bad for the Chinese companies. The government introduced some new regulations that limits all sorts of microtransactions, such as requiring spending limits, banning daily rewards, banning luck-based transactions such as loot boxes, and restricting the money streamers get for playing their games. This caused Tencent, the biggest Chinese game company, to lose 16% of their stock value, which lost them around $54 billion, and NetEase also dropped by 30%. It'll be interesting to see how this affects games like Genshin Impact going forward, but if they are still going to be allowed to do all these things overseas, don't expect things to change all that much. At least gamers over in China will benefit from this, but it really shouldn't require the government to step in. I know consumer rights are important and all, but consumer responsibility is equally as important. Remember that the next time you think of pre-ordering a game or buying a worthless skin. There is a small update to this story though, and it's just that the regulators are somewhat reconsidering the restrictions, or at least parts of them. Probably won't see the results of that until a much later date though. Following up on last month's story, there have been some updates on the coffin of Andy and Lele. Unfortunately, there have been some more victims of doxing just for playing or talking about this game online. The absolute state of internet activists.
Your life literally is as valuable as a summer ant.
But there's also been some good news too. The creator Nemle, who's been continuing work on the game behind the scenes, gave some info in a brief Q&A, pretty much doubling down, saying they have no intentions of toning down the game going forward. So that's good. Keep up the good work, I say, and don't let these cancel pigs stop you. Finally, a new Trails game was announced. Legend of Heroes Kai, Farewell O Zemuria, is going to be the 13th game in the series, and we don't really have a whole lot of info yet. Just a handful of screenshots including one of what looks like Hermes with their helmet off standing in front of a rocket launch pad, and a few minor vague details from a Q&A with Kondo of Falcom. So look forward to that coming out in later 2024, probably around the same time the people in the West get the localization of Daybreak. Speaking of which, Trails has been a big part of a larger story about localization in general, with this image flying around. You can read this shit yourself and make up your own mind about it, but there was some news about Japan wanting to use AI translations instead for certain manga, which means this will probably become a thing for video games and visual novels soon too, so get ready for that shit. It sent the so-called professional localizers into a tizzy, naturally. But a lot of people aren't showing them any support and are in fact celebrating this news. I think if you are celebrating this, you should pump the brakes a bit because AI translations can still be wildly inaccurate at times, or the AI itself could have the same things you hate baked into it. And they can still edit the AI translation in the same ways they've been doing for years before they put it out. Just wait. We'll see what happens in the next few years. Lastly, we have the worst take of the month. And man, oh man, was there a buttload of butthurt to choose from this month. The brain-dead moral police crying about violent video games like they have been since the 90s, the brain-dead culture warriors crying about GTA6 being woke or racist or sexist or whatever, pick your poison, or all the screeching over the pointless game awards, especially from PlayStation and Nintendo fanboys literally throwing tantrums over some of the awards, or all the game journalists and fanboys defending Insomniac when they gleefully spread other companies' leaks all over the internet. or all the people defending Sony's desire to raise games over $100, or Kotaku lying that the JRPG genre was dead until Persona 5 came along, or all the console fanboys fighting their stupid little war on Christmas Day. Holy shit, there's so much to choose from. But I think we'll keep it simple this time.
I'd rather smoke meth than play Xbox. Oh wait, I already do smoke meth. Still better than playing on Xbox though.
Just stop! Just stop it! Stop! No! Just stop it!
Wow. Do I even need to explain this one? I'd rather literally commit a slow self-deletion rather than play on a video game console. And then he posts a picture of what seems to be himself smoking meth that I probably can't show on YouTube, on his public account, with what looks like his real name and a picture of himself. Holy shit, dude. This is where we're at, folks. Look, if people are getting you down for playing video games of any kind for some reason, just take a look at this tweet and maybe it'll remind you that you're doing just fine in life. Of course, there seems to be an update to this story and, well, that's to be expected, I guess. But I just want to say, congratulations PlayStation fanboys. You win the award for the most utterly deranged fanboys of 2023. It's no contest.
What do I win? Nothing!
Guess that's what happens when your precious console only has 2 short games after 3 years.
One game, I don't know why. I bought a PS5 with no games to buy.
With all the garbage out of the way, time for the releases. Not very many this time. January seems to be a very light month, unfortunately, aside from all the Steam shovelware that's coming out, I guess. But we have one more detour to make before that. For all you boomers out there, a fan mod for Icewind Dale 2 released on the 31st that greatly enhances the game, so if you're into that, I don't think I can post a link on YouTube because they're anal about that, but you can find it here on the Beamdog forums. Anyway, let's get into the releases. First, we have a few games coming out of early access. Against the Storm came out on December 8th. This is a survival city builder and a roguelite. Doesn't sound like it works on paper, but it really, really works. And it's really addicting. I'll explain more in my Best of 2023 video. Stay tuned. Cygnus Enterprises came out of early access on December 19th. This is a Chinese action RPG with base building and tower defense elements. Doesn't seem to be hitting based on the reviews, so your mileage may vary. On January 11th, we have the 5th game in the Momodora series coming out, Moonlit Farewell. This Metroidvania-Lite series has been around for quite some time, and this upcoming game looks like it will be the most polished of them all. On January 17th, we have the long-titled Yuuna and the Haunted Hot Springs, The Thrilling Steamy Maze Kiwami, a roguelite mystery dungeon-style game with a lot of fan service based on the anime and manga. Be warned though, there appears to be some censorship drama surrounding this game, so I check back after it comes out if you're interested. On January 19th, we have The Cub, a post-apocalyptic 2D platformer inspired by The Jungle Book or something, where you try to avoid getting killed by everything. Nice. Graven comes out of early access on January 24th. A first-person shooter, RPG, puzzle game? I don't know, but it doesn't seem to be getting great reviews, but I don't think the full game was included in the early access version, so we'll see. Looks like a cool idea though. Lastly, on January 25th, Tekken 8. Probably don't need to tell you about it if you're into fighting games, but it's one fighting series I've been thinking of getting into. Maybe I should try that demo. So there you have it, that's all the releases for this month's RNG. Hope you had some fun with this one because I certainly die on the inside just a little bit more every time I make one of these. Hopefully January will have nothing bad happen at all whatsoever. But hey, feel free to like, share it around, comment what you think about any of these events or any of the games mentioned, or if you want to suggest a lesser known game to feature in next month's release segment. Sifting through all the Steam shovelware garbage is a nightmare, please. I need your help guys, I'm begging you.
How about new?
Don't forget to check out my other videos such as my top 10s or any of my Trails content if you're into that sort of thing, and my best games of the year video, which will be out soon. Oh, and follow me on the Twitter or X, even though I never post there, and Rumble and Odyssey. And as always with this entire circus of an industry, have high standards, low expectations.